yo, hams in the sand. What's good, y'all? Soul here, and welcome back to my story mode. So before we truly get started here, you all should know that this is actually a response video. Last week, I asked you guys what kind of story hopes you guys have in regards to Pokemon Legends ZA. Got a nice little handful of comments here. However, before we get started, there's probably something you should know. And yes, you're completely right, I'm sorry, it's plug time. The links in the description will lead you to a couple of places. Two of the links in there lead you to my Blue.Sky and my Twitter, and one of those things is significantly better than the other, but I'm gonna let you take a guess on which. And of course, one of the biggest links in my description is to our Discord server, where you can join our little community where we talk about Pokemon and games in general, and you can keep up to date on everything that I'm up to and everything that I'm working on. Following me or joining the Discord server is definitely the best way that you guys can get ahead on videos like these. Lately, I've been holding votings to see what kind of videos you guys would like to see next, and again, they're hosted everywhere, so just make sure to follow me on everything so that you don't miss those. And then of course on Discord, I ask you guys the exact same prompt over there, but difference is, your response gets priority. On top of all of this, whatever you're following me on, or if you utilize the Discord, you can feel free to ask me anything you want in terms of gaming, anything you want me to talk about in video format. You can ask me in the video ideas tab on the Discord server, or you can @ me on Blue.Sky or Twitter if you want me to answer a specific question. And of course, this is all free of charge. I'm not taking y'all's money. Overall, this is all just being said so that next time you hear about one of these, you can go ahead and get ahead of the game and get priority on your answers, or I can make a video based on a response that you give me, whether it be a question, whether it be a general idea you want me to talk about, anything. And of course, it does not have to be simply Pokemon related. I do have another channel after all. But with that being said, I think that just about does it for all of the intro stuff. Getting back on topic, news about Pokemon Legends ZA is right around the corner, with Pokemon Day being just a little under 10 days away now. Once we have our first glimpse of Pokemon Legends ZA, our guesses and our assumptions and anything that we're thinking in regards to this game can't be baseless anymore. Which means these are the last 2 weeks that we can get as crazy as we want with these predictions. Hence the video you're watching right now. I wanted you guys to get the opportunity to have any final thoughts out there in regards to the story for Pokemon Legends ZA. With all that being said, I think it's about time we start getting into this, so why don't you go ahead, sit down, grab yourself a nice cold Sprite, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you're a little hungry. You know, it is time of this recording, it's about dinner time, so why don't you go ahead, get yourself a nice burger, some fries, maybe on that burger, it's, you know, medium rare, you know, cooked all right, and put some Skittles on there for that little extra taste, you know what I'm saying? And let's go ahead and talk about your guys' thoughts on the potential of the story for Pokemon Legends ZA. Kicking things off, on the Discord side, we're starting off with Vanderin, who says, "Not main story related, but I would really love to see more engaging stories from side quests. I want to be intrigued enough to see those short stories to the end and be rewarded with not just a random mushroom, but also a satisfying conclusion." I think that this is absolutely a valid take, considering the fact that side quests are still, for whatever reason, not nearly as prominent in the Pokemon franchise as they should be. Thankfully though, they did introduce them in a very unique way in Pokemon Legends Arceus, so I'm pretty sure we can look forward to having a similar style of side quests in this upcoming game. Which is why I 100% agree with you. I think it would be absolutely cataclysmic to not have side quests that develop the people that are living in and helping rebuild Lumio City. I always think about the Cafe and Anju side quest from Majora's Mask, and I feel like that's easily one of the best side quests I have ever seen in a game. I would love to have a situation in which you're helping two different people in Lumio City get to know each other from afar, and then at some point after a good couple of side quests with these two people, there's eventually a situation in which the other one has to get brave enough to help you save the other person from a rampaging Pokemon or something along those lines. And now, because you've done all of those side quests in succession to completion, not only do you get a sick-ass rare item that you wouldn't get otherwise in the main story, but you could also get a really fun and cute extra cutscene. Hell, a wedding would be adorable to participate in. That would be awesome. But overall, you already get what I'm getting at. I 1000% absolutely do agree with you and want this for Legends. But also, probably the mainline series too, because why not? But let's start small. Next along, we have the homie True CBE, who says, I wish for either a story about the 3,000-year-old war, or, if current time, a story about Zygarde in some new form, destroying the city and having us stop it. There's just simply no way that the 3,000-year-old war doesn't have something to do with what's happening in Jubilife City in this game. People have been saying here and there, speculating that it could possibly be a modern game, or at least something closer to modern, but I mean, I think it's not. I really don't think that's the case. Based on the first game in this little series here, I have to imagine that the Legend title is not to be taken lightly. Which is why it's just so hard for me to imagine this game not having something to do with the war, or like post-war at the very least. And that is also precisely what I am hoping for. I'm with you on that, bro. And then the other half of this, the possibility of Zygarde destroying the city, that's crazy. Like, we're gonna be on some kaiju stuff? That would be insane if we're being so honest. I would absolutely love to have to find a way to fight a Godzilla-sized Zygarde with regular Pokemon that can probably Mega Evolve. That would be so raw. Please tell me that wouldn't be raw, because then you'd be lying. That would be so sick. And probably the best part about that idea is the fact that that could take place in the past or in modern day. Doesn't matter how it has to happen, it could just be in Legends, and that would be sick. It would be fine, and nobody would complain. Well, at the very least, I certainly wouldn't, but I can't speak for everybody. After that, we have the homie Pharaoh, who says, been thinking a lot, and I don't have any expectations beyond being the second legend for the Kalos region. My guess is that the game still takes place a while after AZ fired the weapon and split the timelines and created Mega Evolution. But we're here at the beginning, when it was a little more nebulous, and not harnesses like in 6th gen where it's in stones. Okay, so very clearly, I am definitely not in the loop when it comes to the lore theories for this game. Is that a thing that people have been talking about for the last like 12 years? Did AZ firing the weapon split the timelines, and that's why we have a timeline with no Mega Evolution and one with Mega Evolution? Is that what's implied? Or are we saying this because Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire had to be put in a different timeline so that they could utilize Mega Evolution, and that's what they came up with? I really don't know what the situation is there, but long and short of it is, whatever happened, it is most likely possible that we are living in the timeline in Legends EA post weapon fire, where Mega Evolution is in our timeline, which means everything going forward from that point after Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, every canon mainline generational game does have Mega Evolution, which means this is most likely going to be canon. Also, I do like the idea of Mega Evolution, or like Mega Stones, or whatever the situation was at first, being more of a nebulous situation in which like it's just kind of in the air, so any Pokemon is capable of doing it, or at least certain Pokemon that are capable of doing it can just do it without needing to harness the power of a stone. It's just kind of out in the air. And that would make a lot of sense too, considering the fact that we need to be facing off constantly against dangerous Pokemon. And what is more scary than a wild, fully evolved, mega evolved Charizard ready to slit your throat? That is wild and crazy work that I think would make Pokemon in this game much more terrifying than any alpha Pokemon could ever make anything. I'm going to assume that we're still probably going to be within an era in which people and Pokemon don't necessarily 100% trust each other yet, especially after something like a major war where everybody is just kind of on edge and doesn't know what's going to come next. So in turn, I have to imagine that nobody, or at least maybe one person, probably throughout the course of our playthrough, is going to be doing actual proper research on Mega Evolution so that they can find a way to contain it and utilize that so that we can work better with Pokemon. But It's so hard to say having zero information on the timeline of this game, but I do like where your head's at. And lastly, on the Discord side of things, we have Navi Man, who says, my story hopes is that we see a lot of familiar characters from X and Y back and maybe even elevated to some new heights. I can imagine Clement and Bonnie playing crucial roles helping the player fighting the threats of a new evil organization that managed to control Zygarde. It would be cool if in the climax of the game, the city became infested by roots like seeing in the anime, and there was a timer to the player to get to Prism Tower avoiding the roots, otherwise it would be a game over. And finally, having AZ helping you out somehow, and he thrusts his Eternal Flower Floette after doing an act of sacrifice to stop the evil guys. Okay, this is a meaty one, so let's break it down piece by piece here. Firstly, the return of characters from X and Y. I don't really see anybody returning other than, you know, AZ. However, I do think that it's very, very likely that we are going to see Clement and Bonnie's ancestor, considering the fact that, like, they're probably one of the more prominent characters that became more popular, especially after the game and the anime, of course, because them being present and main characters in the anime kind of put them in everybody's faces. So I have absolutely zero doubt in my mind that we're going to see their ancestor for sure. I have to imagine that there's going to be some form of setup to help us rebuild Lumio City, and I have no doubt in my mind that there are going to be some very familiar faces amongst the crowd that are going to be helping us rebuild the city. So I figure you're not going to be alone. People are definitely going to help you rebuild the city, as well as fight against any threats that are ongoing in the city. And you know, a time-based challenge like that is something Pokemon definitely has yet to do, so I would absolutely be more than down for something like that to really, you know, put us on edge and make us feel the stakes. You know, if we don't get there in time, we will be sacrificing the city. So that would be really, really cool to see an aesthetic where the entire city is like filled to the brim with maybe these like digital looking roots, probably from the source being Zygarde or something along those lines, and we have to like get to the center of the city to stop it. That does sound like some endgame style stuff, but I rock with that idea very heavily. Now, the thing about AZ in this situation is that we have no idea what kind of AZ we're gonna see. We could be working with a very angry tyrannical king, maybe somebody who's super upset about losing, you know, their best friend Floette, and so maybe we see him go on something of a rampage before he finally calms down, and by the end of this game we actually do see him very regretful. Or this is well past the aftermath of all of that, and we get this regretful, sorrowful wanderer king who nobody even recognizes because it's been so long that we actively have to help him on his journey and he helps us on ours. It really depends on what role AZ plays, what kind of story we get, which is crazy how important this character is right now. One way or the other though, his name is in the title, so one of those two things is gonna happen. We'll have to see how it plays out. So that just about wraps it up for the Discord side of things, and just a quick reminder, if you want priority on your responses or questions, go ahead and just hit me up in the video ideas tab in our Discord server, free of charge. Let's go ahead and kick things off with Billy Anselmo, who says, my hope is they should do better not to give us lame games over and over. I don't know, I thought Legends Arceus was pretty fun. I thought Scarlet and Violet was pretty fun. I don't know. I know it wasn't a very polished game, but I had a good time. I don't know. Let's go ahead and move on. Up next, we have Wilver Schneider 1102, who says, recreate the Paris Catacombs, a winding maze full of skulls and bones and ghost Pokemon. One part of me says that would be cool, that would be fitting, that would be a really neat thing to have. The theme is fitting, why the hell not? The other half of me is nervous because this is a story related video. Are we recreating what happened with the how the Paris Catacombs came to be? Because that in of itself is a scary concept to put in something like Pokemon. I doubt that they would go that route, but I mean, that's crazy, man. Yeah, but then again, we've had dark stuff in Pokemon before, so I mean, we may as well. I don't see why not. That would be pretty cool. After that, we have Spoiler Goblin, who says, If this is taking influence from French history, I could see an influence from the Napoleonic era coming in. Napoleon did a lot for the infrastructure of Paris, and this game sounds like taking place during a similar time of city expansion. Well, with this in mind, which is a very solid idea and possibility, it really does depend, again, on what kind of king AZ turns out to be. Are we gonna have some Napoleon-esque stand-in for the rebuild of Lumio City? Is he gonna be a general type, or depending on the situation, is he just going to be around, you know, giving ideas? Oh, he's gonna have us do a lot of scouting and finding certain things that will help with the rebuild and help people live, you know, proper lives in the city and stuff like that. All in all, I really don't know. It really depends on where AZ stands in this, but I could definitely see something like that, and I think that would be really, really cool. But I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens, but that is a very solid idea. Next along, we have Fiction Fan Zero, who says, I think it'd be really cool to have Zygarde as your overworld partner in the same way as Miraidon and Koraidon. Maybe as a part of the story, you end up finding Zygarde's core and you spend the rest of the game finding more cells, either as rewards for story milestones, or you just need to find them so you can progress the story. And as you get more cells, you unlock more forms that act as rides in the overworld. Complete the brand new forms for various terrains, purposes. For example, 10% form can help you sniff out hidden items, 50% form would be able to climb up near vertical surfaces, as opposed to 25% form would be your land traversal, 70% could be water, and 85% could fly. Complete form would probably be left as a battle exclusive thing, but imagine a scenario in which you're facing the final boss, they somehow prevent you from using your own Pokemon, but you still have Zygarde, and it takes in all the cells and absolutely wrecks the enemy with its new powers. Yes, I did steal that from Scarlet and Violet. What's your point? In 1000% complete honesty, I could easily see them doing that, even if that like end piece there is a little bit of a ripoff from Scarlet and Violet. To be completely honest with you, I personally still think that could be raw as hell. And this way actually makes plenty of sense to be able to have one dedicated Pokemon that you utilize for the overworld, but because it could have so many different forms based on the cells that it obtains throughout the game, that's how you actively progress. That's how you actually gain access to more of the overworld in Lumio City, so that you're not just cheating off rip. You have to actually build up Zygarde to be able to use it to its fullest potential, and that absolutely makes plenty of sense to me. Part of me kind of believes that people would definitely find some kind of grief with having to only have one rideable Pokemon, but the other half of me is like, well, I mean, if that one Pokemon is literally able to do everything, then who cares, right? As strange as it was at times, even with Miraidon and Koraidon, I could live with that. It made a lot of sense to me. So I absolutely for sure see the vision here, and this would be like the perfect culmination of everything they've learned and taking the best pieces of both Legends Arceus as well as Scarlet and Violet and putting them into another Legends title. And it's so nice to dream. Hopefully they can concoct something good, but if it is anything along the lines of what you're thinking, I feel like we're gonna be in for a good time, especially with the traversal aspect. After that, we have Luigi the Metal 64, who says, I am fine with any Pokemon story about being a region champion. Video games are supposed to be interactive mediums, not movies. However, I would hope for having a friendly girl-boy player trainer rival and a tsundere rival. In the case of Pokemon Legends Arceus, it was at first kind of strange that we didn't really have a rival, even though, like, depending on if you pick Lucas or Dawn, Akari or Ray could have easily been your rival, but you only really battle them like, what, a couple of times, like a small handful of times. So I don't know, again, it kind of depends on the situation, because I feel like there's not really a point to having a competition with another person when both of you are doing your best to rebuild the city or at least build up the city of Lumios for the people. I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll see it. I'd be cool with it. If we don't see it, I think I can live with that, but I think we could see it. Also, do we not have a tsundere rival? Does Silver not count? I'm sure if we gave Silver a compliment, he'd call us an idiot and walk off. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Silver counts as a tsundere. Also, For the record, just because video games are supposed to be interactive mediums doesn't mean that they also can't be cinematic masterpieces. Yeah, I absolutely want any and all focus to be on the fun of the gameplay, don't get me wrong. However, on occasion, I would love to have a super high quality, super definition, insanely well animated cutscene every now and again to showcase some of the sickest battling that we've never seen in Pokemon before, or at least not in the games. I'm just saying, it's not that crazy to spend 40 hours on a game and want a couple of cutscenes where you could put down the controller for like 3 minutes. Not sure if that's what you meant by that last comment there, but that's what I'm going to assume you meant, but correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on. Coming along next, we have the homie Esperize, who says, something related to that off-screen facility in that desert zone we never got access to. The other obvious one is Ghost Girl and Volcanion. There's a lot of one-off characters and events in X and Y that just got no follow-up to them. Crazy that you just reminded me of that desert facility that I have not thought about in years, because when I played through X and Y for the first time, I saw that place and I was like, oh, eventually I'll get a key card or something that will let me come back here. Maybe it's a post-game thing, I don't know. And I just never thought about it again. Nothing came of it. There could definitely be some form of storyline where we finally understand what the facility was built for while maybe building it or something. I don't know, it's not too insanely far from the outskirts of the city, right? So I don't know, I could definitely see a situation in which we just kind of go down there and maybe it's something awful and so it gets taped off forever in a side quest or something, or even main story, who knows? Also, Ghost Girl is notorious now. There's no way in hell they don't include her in some way, shape, or form. Hell, she probably won't even be Ghost Girl. We're probably gonna meet her when she was alive, bro. That's how crazy they could get with this, and I have no doubt in my mind she's gonna show up somehow. Or at the very least, we're gonna make a connection to somebody who could potentially be Ghost Girl. Regardless though, there's simply a lot of potential for side quests to like find out what's in the facility, find out what happened to Ghost Girl, find out if we could get our hands on Volcanion or Diancie or something along those lines, and maybe even see new Mega Evolution forms for them because they're so far in the past. I don't know, there's just so many different ways we could go about this stuff. But that's the beauty of it, there's just so much history to Kalos that they have a lot to play around with, so that's kind of what makes everything exciting, no? Next to that, we have CDT5559, who says, there are some interesting story-driven beats that can be chosen here. Here are a couple of my favorites. 1, an additional point in time where AZ activates the ultimate weapon. Have the protagonist help AZ save the world in Lumiose again. 2, create a story building the origins of Mega Evolution itself. Was it an accident, an experiment gone right? Let the franchise's favorite transformation have a story. Well, as far as your first one, I mean, we've said this a couple of times now, but it really does depend on where we stand with AZ. Is he our enemy or is he our ally? And either way, is it before or after he fired the weapon that we're in the midst of rebuilding or, you know, urbanly building a new Lumiose city? Because in that scenario, are we like, what, just seeing him regret building the weapon, but something else is trying to fire it? Or it's like in the midst of firing? There's just so many things at play here that we have to have context before we know why we're stopping the weapon, if it's the weapon that we're stopping, if it hasn't already been fired. You know, there's so many things that can factor into this. As far as your second point, there is absolutely no reason as to why we shouldn't see more origin story related things in regards to Mega Evolution. And you're right, it is strange that we have the least like direct lore in regards to Mega Evolution, which was our first gimmick, as opposed to Terrestrialization, which we know literally everything about, or even Gigantamaxing and Dynamaxing, which we know everything about. Mega Evolution? Not really. So yes, I 100% agree. If there was ever a time for us to learn the lore and history in regards to Mega Evolution, it would be in a Legends game. After that, we have Sob5524, who says, 1, I would like it to be different enough from Pokemon Legends Arceus, but still be a sequel. Like some people say that we are going to be working for Team Flare in the past, but I would like it more if this game had more of a battling focus than catching Pokemon. 2, I really liked the agile and strong style in Pokemon Legends Arceus and would love to see it come back. It was such an interesting and unique way to add some flavor into Pokemon battles without a huge gimmick. For the first half of this, I 1000% agree, but I feel like, again, I've said this so many times now, don't take a shot every time I bring this up, but it just really depends on where we are, because again, if it's a Legends game, there's a very good chance that it takes place in the past, and if it takes place in the past, then we have to know what the relationship was like at that time between people and Pokemon, because we already know that their relationship was kind of strained back in the day because of how strong and dangerous Pokemon were to people. Long story short of what I'm trying to say here is that if we want more of an emphasis on battling, that means we need more trainers present in the game. And to have more trainers present in the game, there has to be less of a strain on the relationship between Pokemon and people so that Pokemon battles could start becoming more of a sport, you know? As for the second half here, I 100% agree. Even if Agile and Strong Style isn't my favorite of the gimmicks, I feel like it added a nice little twist on Pokemon battling that we hadn't seen before, even with prior gimmicks, and I feel like that was a lot of fun to utilize. In one of my previous videos, somebody did mention the possibility that Agile and Strong Style still could absolutely come back and be something of a complement to Mega Evolution in battles. I feel like that would be kind of excessive, but then again, who is to say it still can't happen? I wouldn't really put that past them, so I think I'd be okay with that. It would definitely spice the battles a hell of a lot, so I don't know. I could definitely see them bringing back Agile and Strong Style, possibly keeping that for the Legends franchise specifically, so we'll see, but I'd be down with that. Next to that, we have Osh Games, who says, I wanted to be rebuilding the city of Lumiose following the destruction of the ultimate weapon. No Arceus, but AZ's Floette as the one who brought you back to restore light, Xerneas back to the dark, Yveltal world that is now around, causing Pokemon to grow in battles, thus creating Megas or uncontrollable Pokemon. These could possibly be the Nobles. I think I mentioned this in my previous video, or it's very possible that I just thought of it and never said anything about it, but boss battles were kind of a crucial aspect in Pokemon Legends Arceus, so I can definitely see them bringing that back in some way, shape, or form to Legends ZA, 1000%. It would be pretty impressive if it was Floette as the one who brought you back as opposed to Arceus, but like, no way it's through time, right? Like, I had to be brought from somewhere else. I don't know, but either way, yeah, it does make sense that there's a good chance that Yveltal and Xerneas will be involved in some way, shape, or form. Or maybe it is Xerneas, who knows? It's kind of hard to say, but I could definitely see all of this happening, and this would truly make it a sequel to Legends Arceus if they were to like just do what they did with that, but like at a bigger scale with more stakes in Legends ZA. And lastly, we have the regional variant master, who says, I think a friendly rival that either goes dark or gets misguided enough to join the bad side would be cool. I guess that kind of plays into circumstance once again, because in this situation, are we gonna have an evil group to deal with? Because I mean, it could be interesting if our rival turned out to be something of a Volo situation, I guess, like maybe they stuck by us like extremely close, much closer than Volo ever did, to really keep an eye on us and prevent us from stopping their schemes and stuff like that. But I don't know, that's not really a rival at that point, that's just your enemy. But I don't know, there's a lot of ways they could go about this, but I feel like it could be cool to have a rival, and if we want to go crazy, an evil faction as well. But I don't know, there's a couple of different ways we could play with that. But I think that just about does it for this one. But all of this being said, it just goes to show how much potential there is for the story of Pokemon Legends ZA. Very much, again, depending on where ZA stands, where Zygarde is, if he's going to be like our partner or if he's going to be our enemy or something along those lines, how far the development stage is in Lumiose when we get there, if rampaging Pokemon are going to be a thing. There's just so many factors to consider and how they're going to go about it this time around. But it appears they've been working diligently for the last year or so, so hopefully we see something real good in this upcoming trailer next week. I'm recording this a week before the Pokemon Day presents, by the way. Insane that we're gonna get that, but I'm very much looking forward to it, and I really hope that they gave us some really good stuff and information on the story and all that. So I'm really looking forward to it. But with that being said, I think I have said everything that I need to, and I think a lot of you guys have too, but I'm sure that there's a good amount of you that has yet to say what they want to say, which is why I am passing the mic over in your direction, and I would like to tell us everything you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know that we're always going to be done with you guys. guys? Are you feeling any of these story suggestions? Do you feel like a lot of these story suggestions make sense and are very valid possibilities for what we could receive for a plot in Legend ZA? Or is everybody off the cuffs, everybody's off their rocker, we need to be sent to psych wards and never let out to see the light of day ever again? Tell us everything that you're thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, it does appear to be skedaddle o'clock, and I'm going to go ahead and do just that. I would like to thank you guys again ever so much for watching. I truly hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gonzo. Thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time.